She rolled up in a reflective vest, and big sunglasses told my guests to get off the water, and snapped photos of our kids like she owned the shoreline. I wiped burger grease off my hands, walked over slow, and said the line that froze her face in place. This is my private land, my lake. If you've ever been treated like you don't know your place, you know that feeling in your stomach. It goes from warm to wired in a second. My name's Evan Cole. I'm 39, and I live past the paved roads in Lost Arrow County, Idaho. 2 dogs, a cabin. I finished myself and 118 acres wrapped around a high bowl of water. The old maps call Mirror Elk Lake. I read water rights for a living, old filings, dead ink. The kind of paper that decides who can touch what and when. So I'm not a hermit. I'm just allergic to nonsense, dressed up as authority. Up the ridge is Cedar Ridge Meadows, a copy and paste subdivision with matching mailboxes and bylaws about holiday lights, and on clear days they can see a sliver of my lake through the trees. Just enough blue to convince certain folks they're looking at an amenity that somehow forgot to charge dues. That Saturday was simple folding chairs, a pop-up canopy, coolers, a small speaker playing old country life jackets for the kids who wanted to try the kayaks. Quiet enough you could hear dragonflies buzz the reeds. Then the HOA president, Tracy Whitfield, parked a white side-by-side like she was blocking a runway. Hopped out and started reading rules off a clipboard. No gatherings over 6. No amplified sound. No alcohol near the water wristbands required for boating, all of it. Like we were in her backyard, people froze kids halfway into their kayaks. Grown-ups holding paper plates like evidence. And I felt that old heat, the one that says, don't start a fight, but don't step back either. Ma'am, I said, you're on private property. This is my land, my lake. Your rules. Stop at your fence. She squinted, like I'd said I own the moon. Told me Lakeshore falls under their shared use boundary, said it's in their bylaws, and started taking pictures again. So I stepped between her and the kids and told her to back up, calm voice, not soft, and offered to call the sheriff about trespass if she wanted to test the line. She smiled that smile people use when they think you're bluffing, and said, do it. So I did. 10 minutes later, the HOA patrol bounced down the slope in a lifted golf cart, pretending to be a truck, and a county deputy eased a real SUV under the pines. He took off his sunglasses, looked at the bubble wands and sun hats, and my dogs asleep in the shade, and asked if this was my property, all of it. I said, shoreline included. I can show you deed, topographic survey, 1931 water right. Filing recreation permit. I've got it in a folder. Tracy cut in with no such thing as a private lake in this county, and the deputy raised a hand without looking at her. The universal sign for you've said enough, then read every page I brought, like a man who's learned not to skim. When he closed the folder, he said her authority stops at the subdivision gate, that she was on private land, and if I wanted to press trespass, we could talk papers. You could hear the group exhale. One of the dads handed me a root beer like it was a trophy, and Tracy peeled out with another burst of photos and a promise the board would be in touch. If this were a movie, that would have been the end, but life likes a second act. Monday morning roofing tacks on the lane down to the lake, shiny and fresh like confetti thrown by a tire shop that afternoon. The water smelled off, not dead fish, off chemical off. I dipped a test strip, and the free chlorine popped high. So I called the Department of Environmental Quality, filed a report, and ordered more cameras than I planned to buy this year. A neighbor texted me a photo from the HOA mailboxes, a community under threat. A flyer about a heritage corridor overlay and equitable shoreline access. The kind of language that sounds noble when it isn't aimed at your fence. They announced a town hall, so I showed up uninvited, but not quiet, and stood in the back while Tracy spoke calm and rehearsed stewardship. Safety community. Then rolled out a laminated map with a red dotted line wrapped neat around Mirror Elk Lake, like a thief who doesn't steal jewelry, just tries it on. I raised my hand and said, "Name's Evan. That lake is mine." Then mirrored my deed to their projector, the 1931 filing, and a short drone clip from my inspection contractor showing posted signs and my fence line. The letter she waved, I said, is a receipt that the county received your email, not approval. Big difference. The room shifted. Someone laughed. Someone didn't. And the meeting ended early. That night, my mailbox got knocked off 2 days later. Someone carved hoarder into my shed, and the line between disagreement and harassment stopped pretending to be a line. You know what I mean. When respect leaves the room, you either pack up or pick a spot to stand. I stood. I put the facts where people could see them and launched a YouTube channel called Backwater Briefs. First video titled, "Can an HOA Claim Your Shoreline?" Because it can see it. 10 minutes plain and sharp. No names. Just law and boundaries. And a few tired jokes. And it traveled. Comments poured in from all over Grass Height. Fines, Christmas light curfews, paint. Swatches with penalties. And I realized I'd built a little place where the bullied could compare notes. Then came the twist. A retired GIS analyst named Gus wrote me, said he pulled metadata from the HOA's pretty map. Said it wasn't built on their network. It was compiled on a private laptop username tied to a company called Brant Security Solutions. The name rang a bell because at my picnic, a +1 named Noah had asked way too many questions about fences and water usage, while pretending to text every photo shows him holding his phone like a call. But the lens pointed at my padlock. I didn't blow up. I set a trap, texted a friend who would definitely repeat that I was considering a boundary complaint with the state, and maybe a press conference Monday. And within 24 hours, a brand new account commented. Under my video, FYI state, can't override municipal overlays. Check your heritage corridor docs. Corridor, their exact phrase, their exact angle, and I screenshotted everything and sent it to my lawyer. Meanwhile, the HOA started posting new signs, not on their land on mine lake access, for members only, wristband required. Trespassers will be reported 1, nailed to my fence post, like they were doing me a favor by reminding me who was in charge. And that's when I filed suit. 4 claims, defamation harassment, property damage, and a petition asking the court to confirm exclusive literal and recreational rights to my lake. Not because paper makes truth, but because paper makes truth hard to ignore. The HOA countered with natural access doctrine, which matters sometimes, but not here. That doctrine is for water you share, or easements you owe. And my lake sits like a coin in the middle of my palm. Day 1 in court. We stacked the truth in neat piles, ad survey, historic filing water tests, trail camera stills. Of their signs sprouting like weeds, and a short clip from Backwater Briefs explaining overlays for normal people. Then Gus walked the judge through metadata like he was hiking a familiar trail. Timestamps, edit. History IP logs, and the part that bent the room was the money checks from Cedar Ridge Meadows to Brant Security Solutions. In the exact week the map was compiled, memo lines, like boundary analysis that read different. Once you know the coordinates were nudged, to make my shoreline look like a park. The judge asked about Brandt. Tracy called him a volunteer, and my attorney slid copies of reimbursement forms across the table, that tiny of paper that sounds like the truth. Taking a seat. After a short recess, the judge said the court found for me on all civil claims, ordered the HOA to pay $160,000 for harassment, environmental harm, and reputational injury, and then he referred the matter to the county prosecutor for potential document falsification, perjury, conspiracy to defraud, and yeah, that happened. A deputy asked Tracy to stand and cuffed her without a word. That sound in a courtroom when a story flips is not loud. It's like air leaving a balloon you didn't know you were holding. The fallout was quick. Board members resigned. Someone tried to blame the treasurer. Someone else threatened to sue someone else. And a week later, my attorney got notice they'd pay in full and not appeal. I deposited the check and shook the bank teller's hand like she had personally fixed the world. The signs at my trailhead looked different now. Private property. Cameras in use. Violators will be prosecuted, and a brass plaque under it. Mirror Elk Lake, established 1931, independently held. I added cameras at the culvert, a gate with plate recognition motion sensors where tires like to bounce. Not because I'm paranoid, because I've seen entitlement up close, and it doesn't respect a line. It can't redraw. People still come out by invitation, students, a conservation club, a couple vets who like quiet. More than company. We fish, we paddle, we wave at hawks, and we pick up our trash. Nobody brings a radio with a badge attached to it. Backwater briefs became more than a vent. Templates, checklists, short explainers. Your uncle can understand a monthly live stream we call the Riparian Roundup that has already kept a few folks from getting steamrolled by clipboards. And next month, the law school asked me to guest lecture. Clear lines, how to beat fake jurisdiction with real maps. If you ask what hurt and what healed the hurt was simple. Seeing hoarder carved into my shed and knowing it was meant to make me small. Smelling bleach in my own water, watching guests glance at a ridgeline, because fear walked out of the trees in a vest, and the healing was quieter. A deputy reading my papers, like they mattered, a room falling still. When a judge spoke, words you can sleep on. A neighbor who used to be scared of Tracy saying thank you in the grocery store, not for winning, for drawing a line people could finally see. That's my story. Steady and true. Told the way life felt as it happened. You can stand with a rule book or a recorder's office with clipboards or coordinates, and I'm fine if we disagree. Public access is a blessing when it's truly public and guarded by law. Not committee, politics. Guardrails are not the same as gatekeeping. And if you think I'm wrong, tell me. Drop a comment. Where should the line be? Who should draw it? What have you seen when power calls itself stewardship? And if this hit you somewhere honest, like the video, subscribe to Backwater Briefs for plain English guides that stand up in the real world, and share this with the person who thinks a laminated map is the same thing as a deed. I'll see you in the comments.